Hey everyone, welcome to Secret Handshake. This is Sev.
And that's Drag.
Today we're going to talk about the first couple episodes of Obi wan Kenobi. Sev, was it great or should they have left that crazy old hermit on Tatooine?
They should have left that crazy old hermit on Tatooine for sure.
For sure.
I think that I think the show could have just simply ended with just credits right there. Just been like, and he never left the planet.
That would have been kind of a anticlimactic, but at least he's committed to protecting Luke and he's not going to leave Tatooine for anything.
Yeah, imagine how mad people would be though.
I was actually really surprised. I did not expect Leia to be like a major thing in the show, and they did a pretty good job of hiding it in the trailer and stuff because they don't show her at all, obviously, or anything having to do with Alderaan or the Organas or anything like that.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that. I thought they did a good job with her though.
Yeah. The little girl that plays her is fun. She's sassy just like Leia is, so it makes sense. I also, while not necessarily surprised, I don't know if that's the word, but Obi-Wan was more defeated and kind of deflated than I thought he would be, because he doesn't come across that way in Episode 4, really, obviously. Um, but he's very just like, oh, I had to kill Anakin, and I had to do this or that, and now the Jedi Order's dead, and so I guess I'll just sit here and watch Luke grow up from afar, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I think it really puts more in perspective on him losing. He felt like he really lost a brother, really
Mhm.
like he failed, the Jedi failed.
Mhm.
And I think it really hit hard that he wasn't just like, I think it was a surprise, but I think it's a good character development to show the guy's like been out in the here for like 10 years, had time to reflect.
So the thing that I sort of compared it to in my head was they kind of did a good job with, oh, the character has suffered a setback and he's defeated, but he's still the character he was before from, the prequels and the Clone Wars and stuff like that.
Mm,
He's still the same character in that,
yeah.
it took him a little bit, but he realized like
Mhm.
this is what I have to do. Like this is my duty. I have to go and rescue Leia. So um, it was kind of interesting because in my head I sort of compared that with what they did in Last Jedi, in that in the Last Jedi they have Luke defeated, and instead of him, I guess ultimately he decides to help out, but really Luke Skywalker being who Luke Skywalker is and the type of character he is, he should have helped out way before he actually did, in my opinion. But that's sort of where my brain went, is I compared Obi-Wan, who, ultimately, yeah, he's defeated, but he decided to step forward and do what he figured was right, whereas Luke kind of just stayed on his planet and sat there, which, I mean, not to get too deep into Last Jedi territory, but I think it's just a betrayal of the character that Luke, the type of character Luke was.
For yeah, I think that was a very big disappointment seeing Luke not engage. I think that could have been a completely I think a better storyline would have been him actually showing up. Even if he was to die, I think him showing up as like earlier in the battle,
Hmm.
and even because like you said, Obi-Wan was defeated, but he was just like, you know what? I have a duty. I have, type of thing. He still
Hmm.
felt that strong pull.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at it, because Bail Organa shows up on Tatooine to talk to Obi Wan and to try to convince him like you're the only one that can do this. And Obi Wan eventually decides, he's right, so he goes to a different planet to rescue. He basically leaves Tatooine, leaves watching over Luke to go and try to rescue Leia, who's been kidnapped. So um, I just found it really interesting that they did a good job with showing that a character can be defeated, but it doesn't really change who somebody is just because they've been defeated. I mean, I realize it could, but I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just always been a bee in my bonnet about the Last Jedi, but that's sort of on a tangent. So
I think it was an improvement. It kind of goes in the face of basically, The Last Jedi, and gives a better improvement to the Star Wars story, mythos, and everything as a whole. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a good. I think it's a good thing to contrast. I thought it was interesting the having Obi-Wan stealing meat from the place. I thought that was going to turn into something essentially more with him, someone getting caught, and he was going to have to deal with the dilemma of revealing himself or not. But nothing happened with that.
Yeah, I don't know why they sort of made a point of showing that like three different times, and usually when something like that happens, it's, I mean, it might come up later in the series or whatever, but basically he's stealing a chunk of meat from where he's working at like this meat processing plant to feed to his I guess it's an Eope, which is sort of like a camel elephant creature thing that he rides in the desert. He steals it basically to give the creature a snack or something, which is just
Mhm.
interesting. I don't know what the point there exactly was, other than to be like he cares for his creature friend. I don't know.
That was kind of like a weird thing that just nothing ever happened with it, but
Yeah, it
that's
might be
fine.
something they set up for later, or who knows.
Might have been just more of a thing of showing him struggling
That's
to
true
get by.
too, because I mean they show a couple of times like he doesn't even have the credits to pay the Jawa who's trying to swindle him in the early on in the episode as well. So um, that was funny too. I've always liked Jawas. I think they're fun. So having one have like a few more lines and whatever is,
Yeah, Tika, I think is the name of the
yeah.
Jawa. Um, Also, Obi-Wan was living in a cave. I think it really shows how he was
Mhm.
struggling to get
Yeah.
by, but also staying hidden as much as possible.
Mhm.
So somewhere then, I'm guessing between now and episode 4, when he lives in more an actual house, he must feel more comfortable with still being isolated, but
Mhm.
he kind of like settles down more after all this for or something
Mhm.
happens that makes him just like settling and staying comfortable where he's
Mhm.
living.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll see, or maybe not. But it does make sense that he would get a permanent dwelling at some point. But it is kind of interesting that they just have him living in a cave, basically.
I also found it interesting. He was taught by Yoda before they separated on contacting an old friend. Obi-Wan was contacting Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And in this series, I don't know if he has before this, but at least in this series, it shows that he's trying to reach out to him and he's
Mhm.
just getting silence. I
Mhm.
kind of hope that we do see Qui-Gon.
I
That'd be freaking
imagine we
awesome.
will, especially since they've set it up in this series already. Unless they just want to, but that wouldn't make any sense because um, it wouldn't make sense that he wouldn't be able to, and they would also set it up. I think you said it when we were watching it about it being Chekhov's gun, that they set it up in the first thing of him trying to talk to Qui Gon and getting nothing. I feel like it's going to come at some point. Maybe before he ends up having to fight Vader or something, assuming he does end up fighting Vader. But
Yeah, I do think he's gonna end up fighting Vader because
mhm.
episode 2 they show Vader right at the end. I think
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
makes sense that they would have some kind of conflict.
sure.
I also found it interesting. Obi-Wan goes ahead and he denies that he's a Jedi. That other Jedi trying to run away, and then he like even after that the other Jedi gets like killed, and he sees the guy like hanging in the city and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Kind of wonder, what do you think like Obi-Wan's feelings on it? Like, do he feels like regret for not helping?
Probably to an extent. He also probably thinks that the guy should have listened to his advice and just stopped whatever it was he was trying to account, like basically to go into hiding like he was. Probably would have been the smart thing to do, but Obi-Wan probably bad about it that he didn't really do anything. But then again, what was there to do except for to reveal himself that he was there, and he had his own job to do, not necessarily to take care of this guy who was an adult, you know. He's looking after Luke technically.
Yeah, he has like a bigger responsibility and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Oh, Uncle Owen
Mhm.
didn't rat out old Ben
Mhm.
at all either. So I thought that was kind of cool. Even though he doesn't like him, he didn't rat him out. He's not a complete like jerk.
Well, yeah, you could look at that in a selfish way too, because in some way lead back to his family if he were to rat out Obi-Wan. It could
Yeah,
somehow
true.
lead to Luke. But I think in general, I don't think Owen is like a bad guy. He's just like a, you know, F the Jedi kind of guy because of the trouble that they've kind of caused in general.
Obi-Wan does leave the planet.
Hmm.
Well, before he leaves the planet, I thought was kind of interesting there. We get to see Alderaan, right?
Oh
Looks like a
yeah,
really nice place and
yeah. Hmm.
everything else. I thought I was thinking about that scene where where Leia, he's talking to Leia. The Organa was talking to Bail Organa was talking to
Hmm.
Leia, and he's like, these people look up to you, and because she's going to be a future senator and stuff like that. Then I was kind of thinking, like, they're really looking up to her because she'll be on the Death Star, looking down on them as they're being destroyed.
That's horrible and accurate. Um,
Accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had that thought as well when they're talking about like, oh, these people are gonna look to you and stuff. And I know this isn't canon anymore, but there was. I'm trying to remember. There was like a contingent of like people left over from Alderaan who kind of made her, she was sort of their leader in a way, and I'm trying to remember what it was in. But anyway, that thought also crossed my mind that like, yeah, they might look up to her because there isn't going to be that many people left anyway because they're going to be scattered across you know,
as
the
they're
universe.
floating around on rocks.
That is not what I meant, but I meant they were off planet at the time of the explosion. How
Mhm.
how dare you make light of the plight of Alderaan? It's horrible.
Right? Of their suffering of Alderaan. I'm sorry. I'm
Alderaan is peaceful.
terrible.
They have no weapons, you know. Anyway.
True. It did look like a nice city, though. I thought it was really cool to see Alderaan
Hmm.
in canon wise.
I liked little Leia's little robot. I wish I had a little Lola robot. It was like a
Oh
ladybug.
yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool. I was wondering if it had like a tracker on it, but I don't think they mentioned anywhere that if it did. Do you remember what city they landed in? It's Dayu, I think it is how you
Hmm.
pronounce it.
Yeah, Dayu. But it's basically like a sort of a scum and villainy type planet. Sort of like is it Nal Hutta or even Terrace? I don't know if you remember Terrace from like Knights of the Old Republic or like any of those or the comic books even. Terrace was like a city planet but had like this really seedy underbelly. I thought that was a really
Yeah,
cool planet in general though because of the all the various races and stuff going on. It was a very cool background.
yeah, it's kind of interesting to see some of these different planets that aren't Coruscant.
Something we sort of skipped over too is the Inquisitors.
Yeah, there was the Grand Inquisitor, fifth brother, and third sister.
I don't know what her story is completely. My guess is that she is one of the children at the very beginning of the first episode. They show Order 66 in the temple and a Jedi with like 6 or 8 children. And I know a lot of the Inquisitors were Jedi, usually like young Jedi that Darth Vader or the Emperor or whatever scooped up and put in their own training program thing to become Inquisitors to hunt down other Jedi. So I imagine that she specifically is one of those children, especially since they've centered in on her. My other guess is
Um,
that she somehow has some sort of grudge with Obi-Wan specifically, and that's why she's got such a anger whatever for for killing him or getting him.
well, I went and looked back at the scene of the kids, and there's a girl that has like kind of an orangish little stands out outfit
Mhm.
of the younglings,
Mhm.
and it looks like it could be her.
Mhm. Yeah. So
So
that's what I didn't make that connection right away. It was probably the end of the first episode or the beginning of the second that I decided that that was probably the case. Because since they decided to center in on her being so angry about Obi-Wan or the Jedi in general, that
yeah,
made sense
probably
to me.
betrayed by the Jedi.
Hmm. Or she figures she was, or has been brainwashed. But so I imagine at some point if I had to guess, if we're gonna go off guesses right now, she at some point is going to probably realize that, oh yeah, actually the Jedi were not bad, and I'm being stupid, and she's gonna end up dying. That's my guess. Which they actually did in the. I'll make another comparison. I think I did last time to the Jedi Fallen Order. In that video game, they kind of do the same thing where one of the girls was a Jedi. One of the Inquisitors was a Jedi, and she kind of at the end, after you defeat her or whatever, she's like, you should run away type of thing at the end of the game, because you're being chased by Darth Vader, and she gets killed by Darth Vader for warning them or whatever, something like that.
You think Darth Vader's gonna kill her?
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do the exact same thing from the video game, but because that'd be a bit silly. But maybe, I don't know. I know Vader in the comic books is when he first meets like the Grand Inquisitor or something. He's very like, I don't, I nothing you. You're nothing to me, basically. So it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't give a crap and just kills the Inquisitor chick, even though she's trying to help him.
As soon as you're no longer of use, Vader will kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he finds your lack of faith disturbing. The other thing that I found interesting was that this Inquisitor specifically knew about Darth Vader being Anakin, which I don't think is common knowledge for the most part, and obviously it isn't, because when she said it, Obi-Wan didn't even know. Obi-Wan, up until this point, 10 years after Episode 3, has assumed that Anakin is dead. Which I thought was kind of interesting.
So my guess is he just never felt out in the Force to see if he, found Anakin. And I think then at the end of at the very end scene, you see him like reaching out into the Force to see if Anakin's still out there. And I think that's what I think is happening in that scene. It looks like he's reaching out to see if he still exists, and then of course Anakin knows because he's reaching out into the Force to him, and so then Darth Vader now and notices it, and that's why you see Darth Vader's eyes open. And now Darth Vader knows that Obi-Wan is alive, I think.
It could be.
So I think in the next episode, you'll see Darth Vader show up, is what I'm thinking.
Mm. They've never really been all that specific when it comes to, like, reaching out in the Force. Like, I mean, they do and they don't, I guess. Like, they sort of touch on it a little bit in Empire Strikes Back and in The Last Jedi when, I think it's in The Last Jedi. I'm trying to remember, but anyway, they kind of touch on it a little bit, but they never really specify like how easy, difficult, whatever it is to try to find someone in the Force, even though they're on like an entire different planet across the galaxy or whatever.
What was your opinion on like her setting up the trap for Obi-Wan? And so she set up the trap for Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. She figured out who she had this obsession with finding him, mm-hmm. and finally put a connection together with Bail Organa and him, and like captured Leia. I think like, what do you think? Do you think like she knows that like Leia is Anakin's kid, or do you think that like that's not a thing?
No, I can't imagine she would know, because Anakin doesn't even know. Right. The only thing she figured was that Bail Organa was friends or worked with Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars kind of thing, and that basically she figured, well, if he's going to contact anybody to help him find his daughter, it's going to be Obi-Wan, which in my mind is a bit of a stretch, but also when you're a bad guy, you don't really care if a plan is a bit of a stretch. It either works and great, and it doesn't, in which case, who cares? Just kill the little girl.
True. What about the Grand Inquisitor's death at the end? I think
very abrupt.
That is very abrupt, but I don't think he's dead. It wouldn't make sense because that doesn't go with current canon. Grand Inquisitor's alive in Rebels, and Rebels is happening still after this.
Is
it? Yeah.
Is it the same Grand Inquisitor?
I think so. Yeah, I think I saw something that they saying that he's the same guy.
Okay. Well,
I think it is.
The only thing I would have to say to that is, when has Disney ever cared about prior canon before? even if it is partially of their own making. Technically, Rebels, I believe, was being made when they were taking over the studio, like taking over Lucasfilm. I'm not sure of the timing there. I don't know, but I guess the only thing I would say is, do they care?
I don't think he is actually dead. Even I
Can
don't
you
think it's ruining.
survive a lightsaber through the heart? I don't know.
No, it wasn't through the heart. I'm pretty positive it was through the abdomen.
Okay.
So if you remember watching Mandalorian, there's a scene where Fennec gets shot and basically in the gut, and so she's out there dying
Yeah,
essentially and
they
everything else.
they do cyborg
And they
stuff to her. Yeah.
yeah. So what I'm saying is like, are they going to do cyborg stuff to him?
I mean, they could very easily. It just wouldn't make sense to me. But then again, maybe the Inquisitor lady is dumb. But to me, I would have made sure he was dead. But
Okay,
yeah.
so I look back at it, and she just stabbed him in the gut, in the right center in the gut or whatever. And yeah, I mean, you're
So
also using
she's
the dark
basically
side.
gone rogue at this point. Then.
Yeah, because she stabs him, says like stuff to him, and then runs away.
Hmm.
And I think that like you could just she goes after him or whatever, and maybe in the next episode, like the other Inquisitor shows up, saves that guy, and basically she's runs rogue, chasing after him or something. I don't know, after Obi-Wan, because like I think he still lives. He, using the dark side or whatever, hatred or whatever you want to call it, to keep him alive.
Maybe. The only thing I thought he had a different aesthetic to him than the Grand Inquisitor that I've seen in other places, but it could be the same guy, and maybe he does live and she's just gone completely rogue.
Maybe we'll find out in a week, a little less than a week actually.
Which, if she's doing this for Darth Vader, I guess maybe, but it just seems to me that it would be a weird way to go about doing it for Darth Vader. But I think the Inquisitors are more tools of the Emperor and less like Vader's people,
Yeah, maybe she's just trying to get in his good graces
Maybe.
of like Darth Vader.
Could be.
But yeah, I think that like I think he's still alive. I'd be surprised they see that. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. I was watching some of the content from Star Wars Celebration
Mm.
and different interviews and stuff like that. And what I saw is that Ian McGregor, right, said that there is nothing lined up for another series, but he said he's totally cool down with doing another series, some more stuff with Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like the actor's at least willing to continue doing stuff.
Well,
I suppose if this gets, and it sounds like even Hayden Christensen is also wanting to do more. So my thought is that if they're both on board, and I mean, Disney makes a crap ton of money from this, I don't know why they wouldn't do another Obi-Wan or do like a Ahsoka one, or
well, they've already announced an Ahsoka show, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they did.
I think you're right.
Yeah, they've already announced an Ahsoka show, and from what I understand, I don't know if it's Anakin's going to be in that, like Hayden Christensen, the actor, is in that Ahsoka show, and he's either going to be Anakin or Darth Vader, or maybe both. So,
so
it's also
in 2023.
It also has Sabine, which is from Rebels. So I think it's maybe going to. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I assume they're going to find Ezra Bridger, which is from Rebels, the character that disappears at the end of Rebels. Is it 2023? Is that what they said?
Yeah, in 2023 is sometime in 23.
Yeah. Hayden Christensen is supposed to be in that, as well as presumably Darth Vader, but maybe also Anakin if it's like a flashback thing, or who knows. I guess it depends on where time period wise where it falls, because if it's after Return of the Jedi, then they're going to be looking for Ezra, her and Sabine, and maybe Anakin's a Force ghost, maybe to Ahsoka. I don't know. I'm just presuming. I have no clues, but also I
Is
think you are right. After looking up, that is the same Grand, because I didn't really look too much into it after the fact, but it is the same Grand Inquisitor, and I doubt he's dead because otherwise it would invalidate Rebels and other things like the comic books and stuff. So I don't think so. I think he's more than likely still alive.
Yeah, I think, and with everyone involved in here, these people seem like they're really in tune on the trying to keep with canon.
Yeah.
The people, because the person, the director for this, I think, is also the same person who was directed some of the episodes of The Mandalorian too. So, or Boba Fett, one of the two.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think having Ahsoka, I think, show is going to be great. I think even having like a Darth Vader show would be awesome. So I'd be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, anything you can put Darth Vader in, I would be happy with. I I think that well, I mean, he's basically the best villain they have. The only other one that even I would say comes close or equal to is Darth Maul. Like, yeah, Palpatine's evil and blah 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 blah, but is he cool like the other two are cool? I don't know.
Thanks for listening to us today. Talk about episodes 1 and 2 of the Obi wan Kenobi series. Come back next week and listen our opinions about episode 3.